Welcome to the Downton Blabby podcast. This is a place for Downton Abbey fans to share stories, thoughts, and feelings about the TV series, the movie, and other Downton-related experiences. I am Sandy Max, and in this episode, you are cordially invited to enjoy Downton Abbey film reviews. You're going to hear from Harvey, the Harvey, who nicknamed me Downton Sandy. He lives just outside Chicago. We get a couple of New York perspectives from Gail and Charles, and a check-in from the UK with my British friend Charlotte. Spoiler alert, the idea of these review episodes is these are the kind of conversations you'd have with your friends in the lobby after seeing the movie or at the diner over coffee and pie to compare notes. If you have not seen the movie yet and do not want to hear any spoilers, hold off on listening to this episode. Please go back and listen to the first 4 episodes. Those will get you in the mood to see the movie without any spoilers. And bear with me on some of the audio levels in this episode. Technology. It allows us to talk with people around the country and around the world now, but sometimes the connection is a little spotty or there's a bit more background sound than is ideal. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Harvey. I'm a bit of a gypsy, but I'm currently living outside of Chicago.
And you're a big Downton Abbey fan, aren't you?
I am a longtime fan, first-time caller.
Well, welcome to Downton Blabby. And I understand you have seen the film and want to share your thoughts.
I have. I saw it opening weekend. It was better than I thought it would be. I had really high expectations because of the TV show was so good. But I think secretly I was thinking maybe it might not live up to the expectation, and it surpassed it. I was blown away by it.
Give me a one-word review.
Satisfying. I felt like they hit all the right notes. They brought most of the characters back that you wanted to see. You felt good after seeing it. And it was kind of like, it was like a good cup of coffee or a good cup of tea.
What was one of your favorite or some of your favorite parts of the film?
You know, it's interesting. Before I went to see the movie, because it's been so many years since the show's been on, and when it first started, I decided to watch all of season 1 again. Binge watched it. And what I noticed in season 1, which hit me in the movie, was how integral the music was throughout the whole film and how majestic and uplifting the music was. And it kind of like, while I was watching the TV show, season 1, it kind of like just transported me. The music did. And in the theater, the music did the same thing.
Yeah.
The music was just so... I've got lots of M words. It was so magical. It was so mesmerizing. It was so perfect in going from scene to scene that it shocked me how integral it was to the story. And even through the credits, I was one of 2 people that stayed through every bit of the credits at the very end. It was interesting to see that I don't know if it was the London Philharmonic. I might be have the right wrong.
The London Chamber Orchestra.
Okay.
And I only correct you because that is what I went to see at Highclere Castle this past summer. It was the composer who you are complimenting, John Lunn is his name, and the composer performed with the London Chamber Orchestra on the front lawn of Highclere Castle. And in that ballroom scene, that is the London Chamber Orchestra with the conductor, whose first name is Alistair. I don't remember his last name.
You're right. I remember seeing Alistair's name. And what I remember seeing in the final credits was that it was recorded at Abbey Road, where the Beatles recorded. And I just thought that was really very interesting as well. But the music really was just so breathtaking every step of the way. I was surprised at how much I was attuned to that throughout the whole show.
But in a good way, because sometimes it's said that if you notice the music, then then maybe it's not doing its job. But I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think almost all the fans that we talk to, got excited on Sundays when they hear dun 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 dun. You hear that, so like that just means something to people. I need to make that my ringtone, don't I? But you're right. It just automatically. It's interesting to say it transports you to this world that so many of us fans wanted to revisit.
Every piece, every moment of the movie, it was visually stuffed with great costumes, great scenery. The plot lines were so tight. In fact, I think there were only, and of course I'm now forgetting, like there were like 2, I think, minor plot lines. I thought, okay, we don't need to focus on that. Otherwise, everything there was no like lulls at all in the movie. It went by for me really quickly.
Me too. What were some other favorite parts of the movie for you?
I really liked seeing how some of the characters, what they've done since, even just visually, like as much as I've always said that Daisy was the most annoying character in Downton Abbey, I would say she looked like she's matured. The new hairstyle. She was less annoying in the movie than she was early on. To see Thomas's evolution as the butler for Downton Abbey, and to see even his look, how that was just a little bit of gray, I think, in the temples. Maggie Smith did not look any older at all. I mean, and she killed every single time. I've been following Maggie Smith for probably at least 30 to 40 years, her career.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to see her in London live on stage,
really?
Probably 30 years ago. And I remember being in one of those boxes on the upper stage left and looking down on Maggie Smith in like a 2 or 3 character show. And it was really amazing. She's just phenomenal in everything that she does.
Wow.
But in the movie, her delivery was just so spot on. And I there were just so many laugh out louds that the one thing I didn't like about the movie experience was I wish I could have paused it to like take a moment and take it in and then go on with it, because there was just so much happening that I got to go back, because I know I missed some things, because there was just, the dialogue was just so sharp and it was really fast paced in some places. Well, there was just lots of laughs.
And I think I might have ruined the movie going experience for people around me when Mr. Mosley is on, only in that there were some things he did I could not stop laughing. And I was trying to contain my laughter, but it was still, I know I laughed over other people's lines. Like, for example, when they're in the wine cellar having the meeting, and he's all excited, and they've made a joke about locking somebody in the attic. And then he does that line about, I will pour the wine for the sweet queen's lips. And it just, but the line after that is like Anna, who makes like a really fast crack, like, keep that up and we're going to put you in the attic. But I've seen it twice now, but I laughed so hard about him being so silly. The first time I didn't hear that line until the second time. So I felt bad. I'm like, oh no, I'm ruining the movie for other people because I'm laughing so hard.
He was so much like, I kind of liken him to like the Jerry Lewis of the downstairs staff, because for a period piece, a lot of physicality to what he did. And
plus the fact that he painted his hair on in an earlier episode. Remember when Jerry Lewis used to darken his hair? I think that's a great analogy.
I don't know the actor's name, but
Kevin Doyle.
Okay, I mean, he's really good. I mean, all the actors are really good because they really do make you, whether you're supposed to like them, hate them, be annoyed by them, root for them, or whatever, they all push the right buttons.
Oh, yeah, they get that reaction, yeah.
Yeah, and they do a really good job. But yeah, Mosley was hysterical. Anna's one of my sentimental favorites. From episode 1, season 1, she's been my all-time favorite character because she's just so kind, yet she's not a doormat for anybody. If she has to fight fire with fire, she will. But she's kind at her core, and I love that about her.
She has conviction.
And speaking to one of my favorite parts of the movie is, I think it's when she and Lady Mary, is she still a lady now? Is Lady Mary...
She's Lady Mary to us. Yeah, it's she's still Lady Mary. It's Edith who's the Marchioness.
Okay.
Or no, she's Lady Hexam. So no, she's got different names, but she's a lady too. So you're cool calling people lady. Hey, lady. That goes back to Jerry Lewis.
Yeah. To see Jerry Lewis on Downton Abbey, that would be an episode. That'd be a very special Christmas episode. But when Anna and Lady Mary exchanged a bit of dialogue about how, I think Lady Mary was saying something about being a friend to me, and I'm paraphrasing badly, but Anna kind of turned around something like, I think we've been a friend to each other.
Yeah. When they're taking the chairs out.
Yeah, I would hope that we'd be a friend to each other. To me, that was the summary of their relationship over the 10 years, was as much as class, divided them, they were always at the core friends to each other and advocates for each other's whatever they were going through in their lives. And that was a rare relationship, a very rare relationship.
I agree. But it's interesting if you watch Lady Mary's face in that scene. I think for a lot of people who call her a snob, she still didn't warm up to that whole, oh yeah, we're friends idea. It was sort of like, it kind of caught her aback, and she's like, yes, you're right. I guess I would do it.
Yeah.
But, it was interesting that it wasn't all hunky-dory.
But that's Mary, though.
Right.
Mary's not perfect. And,
or warm.
Or warm. The thing about Mary was she was self-aware that she was a bitch. And she often would say, I think even to Matthew in the early, season 2, early season 3, when they finally got married, but they were kind of this on again, off again, she would even say to him, don't listen to what I say, because she's quick with the snipe with everybody. She cuts Edith probably deeper than anybody else, but she's aware that she's like that. So I have to give her a few points for being a self-aware bitch. Yeah.
How big was the crowd at your theater when you went to see it?
You know what? I live, I'm in greater Chicago, but tiny, tiny town. And we have one theater that was showing it. And I went at the 1 o'clock on the Saturday, so day 2 after the official opening. And there were more people in that theater, probably 50 people at 1 o'clock on a Saturday, than I've been at any blockbuster movie. Even when I went to the Avengers End, there were no more than 50 people in the Avengers Endgame movie. So I was shocked at how many people were actually there. But again, it was probably the 30 crowd and up. Different demographic that goes to the other movies, but it was a really strong showing. And at the end of our movie, people clapped and stood.
Oh, wow. A standing ovation.
Yeah. I haven't seen that in 10 years in a movie. So that was really interesting.
Was there anything that, other than the standing ovation, any other parts of the movie that surprised you?
No, I don't think anything surprised me. As I was thinking about who wasn't shown, the only character to me, and she wasn't a regular, but Lady Rosamond.
Yeah.
She wasn't in the movie. I don't know that there was a place really that she had to be in the movie, but all the other storylines were kind of around what I had expected in terms of to be touched on. And so I don't think there were really any surprises. What really kind of resonated for me was how the movie was true to the TV series, and that I don't think there were any surprises, at least for me. Were you surprised by anything?
I did not expect to laugh out loud at this. I mean, wholeheartedly, full on me cackling. I was like, and the second time I saw the movie, I'm like, okay, you're just remembering Mr. Mosley's. I mean, there are 3 times where Mr. Mosley at least makes me laugh. When they're in the store and he's all excited looking at what they're shopping and buying. And there's 4 times. And he busts in downstairs and he's like, oh, I want to serve. They're like, don't you teach? And he's like, they'll let me do that. I'm like, he's just so enthusiastic. And so there's at least 4 times I laughed out loud. And I did not expect that at Downton Abbey.
Okay. 2 points, son, I have to make on that. One is, I agree with you about the laugh out loud, but for me, it was the Dowager Countess. And it wasn't that she was any funnier than she normally was, but in any given 60-minute, 45-minute, 1-hour episode during the week, maybe she has 4 good lines that it's a snap. In the movie, I think there were just so many. There were probably a dozen or more. And they were all so funny that I laughed much more because they jam-packed it. I mean, with great lines for her. Now, point 2. I go back to with Mosley. Yes, he's funny. He falls into my number 2 after Daisy of most annoying character, because
poor Mr. Mosley.
You can be over enthusiastic and like, okay, calm down, guy. But you know what though? I think for me, that's a good response, because that's how I respond to characters like that.
Sure.
So he did a great job with that role. Boy, there are just so many characters in what was it, a 2-hour, 1-minute movie, I think?
Yeah.
And I think that so much of the Downton story arc, whether it was the female characters trying to get the right to vote, get the right to work, get the right to lead interesting lives outside of just being a spouse, or a storyline that in this movie moved forward slightly more with Thomas in gay rights and being able to live openly, which, you know, in the TV series, after watching series 3, where it was the real serious one, where Thomas almost got canned because of the whole Jimmy incident, I had forgotten how repressive that whole incident was, and the bigotry of so many of the characters in the show. So like, there were some really dark times on Downton Abbey that at least I, over the course of a period, I tend to remember the better times.
Sure.
Oh, there's some real serious topics here. And in the movie, it's just like, you know, slightly more, you know, with, you know, gay rights with Thomas, but definitely much more with whether it's the suffragettes or other female empowerment issues, made many bigger strides in the movie compared to the TV show over time. So that was always an interesting, constant, reoccurring theme that drove the storyline. And we were talking before about our favorite characters, our most annoying characters, most hated characters. Mine, by the way, I go on record, Mrs. O'Brien, hater. They tried to make her sympathetic for half of an episode after Cora should let her slip on the soap, and then she lost her baby, you know, in season 2. And then in season 3, she was back to it, being her old self. Hated her. I was glad that she didn't show back up, because I'm watching season 3 again right now, and I'm like, when did they get rid of her? Because that was a good day, and I haven't gotten there yet.
That was a good day.
But you know who the biggest diva was of all the characters on the whole show? And I won't say the movie, but the whole show?
Who?
Lord Grantham.
Oh!
He is the biggest diva. When you think about it, he is the most insecure person, because all the world's changing around him and he doesn't know what to do. His role as the man of the manor is being upset by all the women in the household, by society, by the war, by the economy. And he's just lost. And rewatching, like, he is the biggest diva by far of anybody.
I'm entertained by the diva description. Is there anything you were disappointed in the film?
No. Jokingly, you know this. I have pugs. I have 4 pugs. I love dogs. Yeah. So I've always loved the dogs on Downton Abbey. And in my Instagram pug community, and there's lots of pugs that, you know, we kind of follow each other, we're like, the only thing bad about the Downton one was that there were no pugs in it. And we always thought that the Dowager Countess needed a pug. If she had a pug, the movie would have been perfect. Other than that, I had nothing to disappoint me at all.
But I did not expect that answer at all. That is fantastic. More pugs. So then this leads me to the next question. Sequel or no sequel?
Yeah, you have to.
And you have to include pugs.
Well, that, again, spoilers for those of you who are listening. You want to know, like, what happens to the Dowager Countess now that they've introduced potential health issues there. And I'm forgetting, who was it that was pregnant at the end of the...
Lady Edith.
Edith. Mm-hmm. And that will be her second child, correct?
Oh, yeah, because Marigold. It'll be her first legitimate child.
Her first legitimate child. hearken to maybe it's like a Christmas special type thing. Like maybe it's not in the theater, maybe it's on Netflix or something. But I would like to see a sequel. And I say maybe a Christmas special because as I was rewatching season 2, I've been watching a lot of the stars from Downton Abbey do the junkets and being asked about different things. And I think it was on Watch What Happens Live where Andy Cohen was asking Elizabeth McGovern.
Yeah. I saw that episode. Yeah, Elizabeth McGovern
and Alan
Leach.
Yeah. Leach. I'm just getting their names all wrong.
That was a really fun conversation.
It was, and he asked him, like, were there any plot lines that were just like really bad? And I think they both kind of like begrudgingly said, the Patrick character that might have been the lost cousin from the Titanic showing up. And after watching season 2, I'm like, the last half of season 2, after having such tremendous success with season 1, and then the first half of season 2 was really strong. There were like 3 bad episodes. And I'll be on record.
He's on the record. There he goes.
On the record. Bad compared to the high quality of Downton standards, where they started to introduce that Patrick, is he the lost cousin that grew up with Edith or not? And whether it was I can't even name the actor, but he was an awful actor in the role.
Well, Elizabeth McGovern would agree with you on all that.
Yeah,
I think she even didn't like the makeup. She was pretty critical.
The makeup was awful. The storyline was just so vague, and there was no resolution at all to it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That really didn't resolve.
It was unfulfilling because of that. But here's where they made up for it. The last episode of that season 2, with the snow falling down outside and Mary and Matthew on his knees asking finally, to marry her. And they both finally are in the right place to say yes.
Yeah.
It's like magic.
Yeah.
I want that feeling in like a Netflix sequel Christmas special where we can kind of catch up with the family.
Sure. Also, if they do it on Netflix and don't try and do another huge only in cinemas, I think they'd have better success.
Sequels for anything are difficult to do. It's kind of like, harken back to Sex and the City. When, the first movie came out, it was really well received, did very well at the box office. People loved it. All the fans from the TV show were satisfied. So they went and did a second movie, I think maybe 3 to 5 years later, and it just didn't do as well. The storyline wasn't there. And sometimes we can want something so much it will never live up to our expectations.
Yeah.
But when something is so good, as Downton Abbey has been consistently, and the movie is good, I would like to see it at least get Oscar nomination for Best Picture. I think it's worthy of that. It should probably win in the technical categories, whether it's music.
Yes.
Yeah, whether it's music, whether it's, for costume design or scenic design. Because of the size of the cast, I just thought so many elements of it were perfection. And I don't say that lightly, because usually when a movie is really good, it should either inspire you, uplift you, move you, make you feel sad, make you feel happy. And at the end of it, though, you want to either have been challenged, learned something, gone on some sort of emotional journey. And this movie made, if you're a fan, I don't think anybody who was a fan left feeling nothing but at least satisfied and wanting more. And that's okay to want more. Let's just all be cautious about how we ask for more so we're not disappointed with the next. It's kind of like a good meal. If Mrs. Patmore was making us a 3-course dinner and we go like, this is all great, but let's stop for a moment and digest it, because it was just too good. It was so good.
Okay, my name is Gail. I live in New York City, in Queens. I'm born and raised. I have liked Downton Abbey for, I can't even say how many years, because I actually didn't get into the show, I think, until its 2nd or 3rd season when it was on air. I have good friends that actually probably know my taste well, and they're like, you have to watch the show. there's no way that you're not going to like the show.
Well, good. I hope you thanked them later for encouraging you.
Yes.
So you've seen Downton Abbey. Give me a one-word review.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. I like that one. And it's a very British word.
Yes.
What were some of your favorite parts of the film?
Oh my gosh. I love seeing the castle and just everyone's interactions. I love Maggie Smith. She's one of my most favorite parts of the movie, or like the show in general. She's so funny. You know, like how sometimes you don't think that a TV show could translate into a movie? There have been some pretty bad jobs. This one did not disappoint me at all. Well, maybe it's the cast, maybe it's like the writing. Julian Fellows is a genius. So like, you know, bringing us back to that world and the way that they did that with the story, especially like with the king and queen visiting, it kind of like really just, I think, brought everyone together in a way that you wanted to see, that you didn't see in the show.
I think you're right. I think Julian Fellows as the writer is key, especially in light of Game of Thrones and transitioning to different writers, and how disappointed a lot of the loyal fans were in that, because Julian Fellows obviously
created it.
Obviously loves Maggie Smith and there wasn't a wasted frame of Maggie Smith.
No, zero. He never does.
So if you were one of the very first people in New York to see this film, I have to think that you were surrounded by other pretty big Downton Abbey fans.
Oh my gosh, yes. So we were at the showing in the AMC Dolby Cinema. So we got a replica of a snow globe with the castle.
Oh!
Yeah. I can send you a picture of it. It was just a really, really cute mini snow globe. They gave it to us when we walked into the movie. They showed the 10-minute recap video that Jim Carter posted. So I think you saw that too. It was on YouTube. Yeah. So they showed that right before. It was packed. The theater was completely full. Like everyone, or like, you know, you just feel like everyone's excited. They're like clapping when it started, when you heard the music. It's fun watching it with like fans. These are like real fans.
That's so lovely that people applauded as soon as the music started.
And then we had to be quiet because the line started. So.
Right. Well, were there any other noticeable crowd reactions?
I think Mosley's dinner table, some of it was a little bit cringeworthy, but I mean, he's so great for comic relief that it was pretty perfect. Like they just like leaned into him a lot more. They definitely took every chance they could get with him.
Yeah.
There were people audibly laughing. It was great.
And I love that communal vibe to watch it as a group. That there is something special about that.
I'm supposed to watch it tomorrow, actually. I'm supposed to take my friend. Yeah. Like she'll be seeing it for the first time and I'll be watching it a second time. Yeah. My boss just watched it, Toby.
Yeah.
With his wife. He's like, tell me the truth. Was it bad or like was it a disappointment? I'm like, no, absolutely not. And I'm like, I'm not building this up, but it was all I wanted it to be.
Well, you were so funny.
And he agreed.
Good.
Him and his wife agreed. And I was like, yes, okay, perfect.
Well, Toby's English. Had he been watching along as well?
Yes, and his wife is a huge fan, and she's American, so it's like great.
That's funny. They're like the Robert and Cora.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I will tell him you said that. Yeah, he actually got to see it at Alamo Drafthouse, where you can actually like eat food and drink, and they had a special Mrs. Patmore like sandwich and a Downton Abbey themed drink at Alamo Drafthouse, so that's pretty cool.
See, I'm telling you, I love a theme. What else surprised you in the movie?
I was really surprised, but pleasantly surprised about how Mr. Branson's storyline took like a really big part of it. I wasn't sure what was going to happen with him and like that guy who tried to kill the king. Mm-hmm. There was like a really rich storyline with him, and I really liked it a lot. It worked for the movie.
I feel like Tom and Thomas got a lot of love in this movie.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God.
Well, no pun intended.
I like Mr. Barrow. I loved it. The friend who I watched it with, we were just looking at each other when they went into that speakeasy like bar, like club. Yeah. And it was like, this is amazing. I love that they're showing this. They were showing that was actually happening in the 1920s.
Yeah. And I felt like, especially as they were walking back to the house, just saying, gosh, it's just refreshing to be normal. Like it wasn't overdone, in my opinion.
Yeah. And like I'm remembering his storyline through the years of like he tried to go get himself fixed, and I started to really feel for him as a person. And like, this is like a really great progression of his story. Part of me kind of like didn't like how he just let Mr. Carson take over, but it was nice to have this side storyline happen for him as he had time to do that now. I think that made sense.
Yeah, I agree. Were you disappointed by anything in the movie?
I was enjoying every part of it. I think it would take more watches for me to really think like, oh, I'm not sure if I really liked this. But I think I really liked almost everything about it.
I'm thinking I might know the answer to this. But my last question for you is, sequel or no sequel?
No sequel.
No sequel?
Is that surprising?
Yeah.
I think they did what they wanted to do with this.
The chapter's closed for Gail for a Downton Abbey movie franchise. How about another New York friend of mine?
Hi, I am Charles. I live in New York City with my husband, Ed, and we have been huge fans of Downton Abbey since the very beginning. We watched it on PBS. We actually watched it as it was broadcast, so that is an indication of our commitment and interest in the show.
It was appointment viewing. You're right. Like you had to wait every single Sunday.
Yes, we did, and it became such a great thing. Like I think it was always broadcast in the colder months, I believe, and so even when on the show it was spring or summer, it always felt like you just want to like braise something and make a stew and watch it on Sunday night. So
a good Sunday roast.
Yes, exactly.
So you're a longtime Downton Abbey fan, and now you've seen the movie. Were you looking forward to the movie? Were you excited about it?
I was. In fact, my husband and I, we talk about this often. We, in the course of our relationship, we have exactly seen 4 movies in the theaters, and this is one of them. So.
All right, I have to ask, what are the other 4 movies you've seen, or 3 movies?
We saw The Descendants, George Clooney. That was great. We saw Wonder Woman. We saw Lion and this one. So, yes, it's been all over the place, but yes.
And how long have you been together?
We met in 2011.
So every other year you seem to see a movie. Julian
Yes.
Fellows and company should be very flattered that you and Ed chose to see Downton Abbey opening weekend in the theater.
Yes, exactly. And the prices in New York now, that was a commitment.
That's funny. So, all right, what is your one-word review?
Entertaining.
What were some of your favorite parts of the film?
I honestly didn't have a lot of favorite parts. It was enjoyable to me. I enjoyed it. It went on for 2+ hours, and it never felt long to me. Just being back in that environment, and that my husband said that it was a bit draggy in parts, which I can understand as well. There weren't any of these moments that I was like, wow, this was so satisfying. This was so rewarding. There were a lot of moments that, I enjoyed. There were a lot of things about the movie that I also felt like were just really lacking. I guess I was very happy to see Carson pulled back into action at the last minute. Carson was always one of my favorite characters, so I thought that was enjoyable.
Enjoyable? Would you go back and see it again?
The movie, no. Once was definitely enough.
Was it packed in the theater when you went?
I was actually surprised by how unpacked it was. There were not so many people there on a Saturday night to see it, but maybe that's just the demographic that, they have, I don't know, other things to do.
Were there any noticeable crowd reactions at the screening you attended?
Well, there was this whole gaggle of women. I think there must have been 8 or 10 of them who arrived after we did, so I didn't get a good look at them, but they seemed to all, I don't know if it was a drinking game, but every time Countess Dowager said something funny, they all, laughed. And, it was like they were very much into that, so they reacted to her very well.
Were you surprised by anything in the film?
No, I don't think I would say surprised. I was, I guess, gratified that Thomas kind of embraced his gay self, and that Edith seemed to have found her peace with Mary. But yeah, I wasn't really surprised by anything. I didn't really think it was that kind of movie where there was a shocker. I guess shocking in a negative sort of way is that there was this whole storyline about Thomas maybe still wants to overthrow the monarchy or something. But, considering he's been devoted to this family for many years. So that was kind of strange to me.
Well, you had to make him a hero and had to prove his loyalty, I guess.
Yeah, but I think, taking care of the estate and taking care of his daughter with Sybil, I think he's loyal. I mean,
So were you disappointed by anything in the movie? Maybe a character that you didn't see enough of, or?
I was disappointed a lot by that. I've always found Mary to be really a drag. I mean, really. And I think Daisy is whiny and annoying. And I think Thomas was also, as a character, objectively, he's interesting, but I could just never forgive him for all of the stuff he did during the show. So I just don't think he was someone that I've been rooting for in a way, So the fact that they were given so much screen time was kind of disappointing, because I think Daisy is really, truly one of the most uninteresting characters. And Mary, too, she's just, yeah.
Then who are your, top three? Now that we know your bottom three of Daisy, Mary, and Thomas, who would be your top three? You mentioned you dig Carson.
Yes, I do. I've always loved Carson. I've always loved Anna. I think she's really been such just kind of a voice of reason and just a calming presence, and throughout the TV show and in the movie, she was also, she had some very nice moments where she was very level-headed. I think Mary and others came to appreciate that she was, I don't know, I think Mary even said something like, we're friends, or, she said something to the effect of, yes, that we're kind of friends, but they're obviously not friends. But I love Sybil, rest in peace. So she was name checked anyway. And I've always liked Lady Crawley. I thought that she was also very level-headed and very kind of normal and trying to keep the family from going too far off the cliff. So, yeah.
You mean Cora or Violet?
Is her name Cora?
Robert's wife?
The other woman, the Matthew's mother.
Oh, Isabel.
Isabel, yes, Isabel, yes. I've always enjoyed her, too. I thought she was very good. And the whole thing with Mosley was, that was very ridiculous but funny and endearing. I think he's always had a good heart, and I would like to have seen more with what happens with him and,
Baxter? You think they're going to have a little something?
Was it Baxter? I thought Baxter went to India.
I don't know who went to India.
No, Baxter was the evil one. Thomas was co-conspirator.
No, that's O'Brien with the funny bangs.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Baxter, yes. Yeah, so there were some touching moments, fleeting touching moments.
What were some of your husband's other reactions, other than it was a little slow in parts?
We both agreed that the thing with Downton is that it was always a bit, the TV show and the movie, it was a bit lazy in parts where, it's always conveniently someone hears something or says something that they, that moves the plot forward. But it's also in the movie, like every moment, every hushed conversation, there happens to be somebody, in the corner who sees it. And so that, I think it relied on that a bit too much, and he agreed. But yeah, he enjoyed it as well.
It was a lot of eye candy.
It just looked gorgeous, everything about it. Just thinking back, though, there was definitely an issue with, we had this, TV show spread over so many seasons, but they were trying to cram a lot into a very short period of time. And so, yeah, it did feel a bit rushed, but at the same time, as my husband said, it felt a bit draggy. I didn't think it felt draggy, but it did feel like there were so many things that could have been included that weren't, or could have been expanded a bit.
What would you like to have seen more of? I'm curious.
I would really like to see, I think Carson and Hughes were just great characters, and the fact that they hooked up, is sort of maybe improbable as that is. It was a very sweet moment in the TV series. I think you could make actually another movie about them and what they're doing domestically or something. Carson had his shakes or some unsteadiness.
Yeah, he had the palsy or something. Yeah, that's why he stopped.
But then he was gardening, so maybe that did the trick. But there was just not enough of the character. And Hughes is another character that I've always loved.
Sure. She's one of those when you talk about, level-headed and keeps things moving and has things in perspective.
Yeah, and Mrs. Patmore is always a joy, too.
Yeah.
She didn't get much screen time.
I at least feel like she got more because of Daisy, since they focus so much on Daisy.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, because as I said, I really think Daisy is annoying. She's always, I don't know. And then kind of the storyline with her suitor, the kind of dopey suitor who broke the boiler or whatever.
Right.
And she was like, "Oh, that shows how much you love me. Yeah, let's get married tomorrow." It's like, ugh, that was annoying.
Maybe that'll be the next movie. Daisy and Andy get married. You'll be the first person in line. So that's the next question. Sequel or no sequel?
No, that ship has sailed. I loved the TV series. As I said, we watched it. We made time to watch it. And, we made time to see the movie. But after seeing this, I think, I'm done. I think I'm done. I think they're done. I think we're all done. The Countess Dowager's going, her days are numbered. And then what do they have, I was a fan of Sex and the City, but, one movie, maybe all right. But the second one, ugh, who wants to see that? It's like, move on.
If they announce a second one, I'll be excited because it'll be fun, but I will have lower expectations. You know what they could have done? They could have done it like Kill Bill and film 2 at once. And then had volume 1. They could have released one now and then one at Christmas time. That's what they should have done.
That would have been great.
Hello, I'm Charlotte. I am from Colchester in Essex, which is in the UK. I work as a train conductor. It's a very boring job, but it pays the bills. I would aspire to be actress / director / screenwriter / everything to do with anything show businessy, but maybe those days will come in the future.
Part of the entertainment business.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been my dream since I was little.
So, Miss Charlotte, are you a Downton Abbey fan?
I am a Downton Abbey fan. I have the box set and I watch it regularly, and I couldn't wait for the film to come out.
So you have seen the film?
I have seen the film, yeah. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, there's not one bit I can say that I didn't love, so yeah. What
would be your one-word review?
Fantastic.
That's good. What were some of your favorite parts of the film?
Oh, my favorite part, oh my God, Mosley, when he spoke to the king and queen, that just got me so bad. I was laughing so bad that he's just so sweet and he just doesn't realize what he's doing, but at the same time he's trying to be good and sweet and honest. And the actor, I forget his name, but he was really built for that part. He does it so well.
Kevin Doyle, yeah, he is brilliant.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree.
I've seen the movie twice now, and I laughed out loud at that scene the first time I saw it, and I'm like, I'm probably just remembering it, just too well. The second time I watched it, I laughed just as hard. It's so brilliantly done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I hope to watch it again, so maybe I'll laugh again. But I still, just remembering that scene, I still laugh out loud because, it's just such a sweet scene.
Indeed. Well, and it's funny, you and I actually met because of our shared love of British comedy. So I guess that really shouldn't surprise me that that's one of your favorite parts.
Yeah.
I felt like it was also brilliantly directed because they just keep showing him as he's backing out of the room in that hunched over curtsy. So.
Yeah, none of the focus on the other people so much, more on him and his embarrassment and awkwardness. And we all feel for him as well, because we all feel that awkwardness of, oh no, I've said something wrong. Let's back away.
Yeah.
Your heart goes out to him even more so.
Exactly. It was a very endearing moment. So what else did you enjoy in the film?
I really enjoyed the bit, although it made me sad. There's comedy and there's sadness in this film, but when the Duchess was sort of handing over the reins to Lady Mary, and you feel like, okay, Downton's in good hands now because Lady Mary's going to carry it on. But also because Maggie Smith, bless her, she's so old. That it's like she's handing the reins over to Michelle, like the acting reins of, you go forth and you now be this amazing actress. Like you're taking over Downton, but you're also taking over my reins of being a wonderful English actress as well. So that's how I felt in that moment. I was just like, oh, poor Maggie Smith, we're going to lose her one day and be really sad. But we have then Michelle to watch afterwards. And, it was kind of parallel of the film and real life.
Interesting observation. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. It's quite a sad moment because, like, the Duchess obviously going to pass away quite soon, and this is probably why they won't do a second one or whatever. I
was a little worried that was going to be one of the biggest dramatic moments of this movie, was that it was going to be the Dowager Countess passing away or something. So I was actually quite relieved when she was saying, "Oh, I went to London and I'm ill, but don't worry about it." I was like, okay, so they're not going to make me cry in this movie like that.
That's good though, because Downton doesn't need to be sad anymore. We've had enough of that, so we want good things to happen for Downton. So, how
full was the theater when you went?
I would say it's pretty full.
Any moments in the movie where, because see, that's okay. Here's what's funny. I have been, to cinemas in America, of course, and I've been to cinemas in England, or just the difference in being at live shows. And British crowds do tend to be a bit more reserved. So there were times in the theater when I watched it where, for example, in that Mosley scene, you could hear people gasp and you would hear people laugh at different things. Is it like that in England? Is it more of a communal feeling, or is it, or is there any crowd reaction when you watch it?
Oh yeah, there was crowd reaction. I think because we're in the dark, we were okay in England. Like if you're on the tube, you probably wouldn't laugh. You'd keep your head down. But because we were in the theatre in the dark, then it's perfectly fine just to laugh out loud or to, gasp or whatever you need to do. When the lights come up, then you don't speak to each other at all or look at each other. You run away because we're English and that's what we do. But yeah, when the lights are down, it's full blown, go for it.
That's funny. So what were some of the moments that everyone enjoyed or had a reaction to?
Oh yeah, the Mosley scene got a lot of laughs. Yeah, it was so good. I guess there must be people there that were the same as me who watched his character throughout the years and now know exactly what he's like, and they're laughing at that as well as laughing at the awkwardness of the scenes.
Was there anything that surprised you in the movie?
I'm going to say no.
Was there anything that disappointed you in the movie?
I guess there was a relationship between Branson and the young lady, and then there was like a hope of they may get together and carry on the Downton tradition because, she's actually the heir, and etc. That was never really explored at the end. Like there was never any sort of conclusion to that. It was kind of like they're just going to write to each other.
Right.
Okay. Right.
And the Dowager Countess is going to lick the stamps.
Yeah. It was like, okay, then, well, you could have explored that more, but obviously they felt that maybe we'll have a second movie and they'll explore it there, or I don't know.
And that's a big question. Do you want a sequel or no sequel?
I'd love a sequel. Who knows what the story would be? Would it be following them? There's always going to be drama, isn't there? And the question of, the staff knew that their livelihood was not going to be carrying on for much longer. So they have to get a movie in pretty quick so that they can still keep it in that time period where they were having maids and servants and etc. Because by the time the Second World War comes, it kind of dissipates. So, yeah, they need to get one in quick.
With the timing, that's a very good point, because so many people enjoy that camaraderie and that ensemble of the downstairs cast.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the show. Do you have a very favorite character, or do you have like a top three?
Okay, I would go for top three. Not okay, so I can't just say one. So the Dowager Countess, Maggie Smith's character, basically, she's one of my favorites. But she has the best lines, when she comes out with things, and she doesn't know what a weekend is. It's so funny because she's obviously never worked a day in her life. She doesn't know what's going on. I do love Anna because she's so loyal, and she helped Lady Mary with the body, and she just keeps all the secrets, and she's stuck by Bates, and I just I'd love her to be my friend. I like Mrs. Patmore too. She stands out for herself. She's a real feisty one, but she's nasty, but sometimes when she needs to be, but she stands up for herself, and in the end she gets the friends that she needs, even though she's been a little bit nasty.
How do you think nasty?
She was a bit nasty to Daisy, I think. She was a bit like, you have to do this and you have to do that and you have to do this, and working her to the bone, whereas in later episodes she eased off her a little bit.
Yeah, she was a tough boss that kind of became a little more motherly.
Yeah, exactly.
Any other thoughts about the Downton Abbey film or anything that you particularly enjoyed about it?
The main point is, I mean, you feel for that cast, well, the characters obviously, and you feel for Downstairs, and the way that they stood up for themselves and they all grouped together and they're like, right, this is the plan. And we feel for Downton because even though for like me, a working class person, and that's a totally different world, Downton Abbey, I still feel for the characters, even though they have money and but they still have their problems. And even the Downstairs, they feel the same. They were the working class, but they feel like they need to defend Downton's honour, and they set to work about it. And I just love the teamwork and the camaraderie that they pull together, and they pull it off, and it's fantastic. Yeah.
The tally of one-word movie reviews so far by my Downton Blabby guests: 2 brilliants, 2 fantastics, an entertaining, fun, luxurious, and satisfying. In the next episodes of Downton Blabby, expect more film reviews and an interview with a young English actress who is an extra on the set in the ballroom scene of the Downton Abbey movie. How do your thoughts compare to all the ones you've heard so far? I want to know. Email me. Comment on social media. Send me a video or a voice note. Let me know your review and opinions of the Downton Abbey movie. If you dressed up, I really want to see those fun and creative photos. Or maybe you have a Downton Abbey tattoo. Let me see it. Go to sandymax.com and email me or message me on social media. All my contact info is on the Sandy Max website, sandymaxx.com. Also on social media, I'm Sandy Max on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and Downton Blabby social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow along for updates and unique opportunities. I've been looking at some statistics. I'll share those in just a second after I ask you to please subscribe so you don't miss my next podcast upload. Share, rate, and review, but definitely please subscribe to Downton Blabby. Go to your favorite podcast source, Apple, Google, Spreaker, Stitcher, wherever you like to listen. Please do and subscribe. And your rating and review of Downton Blabby are really important. They will help me know what you like about the podcast and what you want to hear on the show. Apple and Google make it pretty easy to leave 5 stars and just even 1 sentence, because their algorithms, however they work, it will help other people find Downton Blabby. The fun statistics so far, as of this recording, the top 3 states listening: Wisconsin, Illinois, and Texas. And the top 3 countries are the United States, the United Kingdom, and Germany. So please spread the word, and when you share the podcast with a Facebook post or a tweet, use hashtag Downton Blabby so I can find you and reshare. Spread the good word of Downton Blabby in your own way. Thank you. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you to everyone who's been a part of getting Downton Blabby started so far. You know who you are, and I'm Sandy Max. Thank you for listening and interacting on social media. I look forward to meeting you back here on Downton Blabby.
The Dowager Countess needed a pug.